And my team's best player just hit the transfer portal. I'm talking, of course, about Michigan Wolverines center Hunter Dickinson, maybe former Michigan Wolverines center Hunter Dickinson. Jeff, what is happening here? What do you expect? What does this mean?
I mean, Hunter just texted me. He said everybody's in play right now, that he doesn't have. Now, I would expect, obviously, he's going to go somewhere where there's a large NIL component, number one. And I would expect he probably goes somewhere closer to home, you know, in the Maryland, D.C. area, but maybe not. I mean, again, if you're Hunter Dickinson right now, you want to get paid, you want to have a point guard. Because when I talked to him a year ago, those were the biggest things for him was he wanted to have a point guard. And this year they really didn't have one. I mean, at the end, obviously, Doug did a pretty good job, but Jalen Llewellyn, who knows what he would have been. You know, a lot of people use that as an excuse for Michigan. Right. I mean,
it was a team that just didn't fit each other, really.
What's that?
It was a team that just didn't fit each other. He needs shooting around.
If you're Hunter, you need a point guard.
Sure.
Right? And you're going to need NIL. And I think you're going to want to win. You're going to want to get in the NCAA tournament. So I don't know who that is at this point. You know, a lot of people are going to speculate with like a Georgetown with Ed Cooley taking that job. We'll see what Cooley puts together for him first.
Sure.
So I'm going to speak from my heart here. I might need to be careful, gentlemen.
Careful. I'm on camera with you.
This is a pretty bad indictment of Juwan Howard's roster-building abilities, okay? Because you'd say it's about shooting. He hasn't had enough shooting. Hunter has now had 2 consecutive seasons where he's played next to a guy who's going to be taken in the first round of the NBA draft due to specifically having shooting as their strongest skill set. Caleb Houston and Jet Howard. He's had
Caleb Houston couldn't shoot.
Caleb Houston absolutely could shoot at home. Away from home, that's a different story.
Yeah.
But the problem is, like, he's had dudes. Those dudes do not.
No, they've had talent.
Like, there's not 30 of them. But to your point, the fit didn't work because Terrence Williams was unplayable at the 4 this year. The fit didn't work the year before because Musa Diabate didn't work next to Hunter.
Right.
He never figured out the point guard position. We're looking at a bunch of teams who are making the Final Four in large part because they brought in transfers that worked.
Yeah.
Juwan Howard has not done that. Is it all his fault? I don't know. But, guys, to lose Hunter Dickinson potentially, and not just lose him, they're almost going through a rebuild. They almost went through a rebuild this year with a veteran.
What if they lose Bufkin too?
Yeah, it's starting from scratch.
Which could happen. Yeah, I mean, listen, it's crazy to think that two years ago right now?
Yeah.
That we were ready to put Juwan Howard in the Hall of Fame. I mean, we were like Elite Eight. We were like, he can have any NBA job he wants. Everybody's going to want him, but he's not going anywhere because he's got his kid coming in. And now, and that's, again, listen, it's me. I know I'm going to bang the same drum about the former NBA guys. But again, he was kind of the guy right now that we were saying was the outlier. And now he's no longer the outlier.
I don't know if that changes, though. It's just the landscape of college basketball. Can you recover from losing a guy like that? I don't think anybody can lose. That's like saying, was Indiana be Indiana if Trace Jackson Davis had hit the portal? Or is Purdue if Zach Edey hits the portal? You're going to lose that, but I think he's got talent. He's done well there. But I think you're seeing it with all the Blue Bloods. Like we talked about, every program that
it's hard to win.
With elite, it's hard to win because the elite programs are not immune to what's going on in this climate. Yep. They're just not. No matter how good you are, this is the times we're living in. Like, your best player can walk in the door right now and say, you know what, I'm just going to throw my name in. Because I think NIL-wise, Michigan could come up with enough money to say, hey, if it's just about NIL.
They were behind.
They would be high on the list to say, hey, this is.
Here's my thing, and I just trying to think from the other side. You know, what does this mean for Juwan? Well, if you look at his recent rosters, there's a lot of talent on those rosters. Maybe Hunter Dickinson didn't fit what Juwan wants as a 5-man, but of course he has been utterly dominant since he's been there. Now, say you go look at last year, and Hunter Dickinson's not there. Musa Diabate's playing at the 5. They're a lot quicker. They're a lot rangier. They're a lot more athletic, especially on the defensive end. Could this be a situation where now
blessing in disguise? That's what he thinks.
This could be something like a blessing in disguise for them, as far as, hey, now I can open up my playbook a little more, being an NBA guy for so long.
That was the one thing I said about those guys, and you heard me say this about my issue was with the Big Ten. When you had all these dominant bigs, because defensively, none of those guys, including Zach Edey, they're not defensive guys. Yeah. They're offensive guys that are a liability somewhat in defense because you can only really play them in drop coverage.
And they're good against each other.
And they're good against each other in the Big Ten. But when you're playing against them, like if I'm a guard, I love drop coverage. I love coming off a ball screen, getting downhill, and getting in your paint.
Yep.
And so I agree with what T.O. saying in the sense of
this might help.
He can get guys and play more of, and I don't want to use it because he comes from Miami, play more like Miami, getting him a big and say, hey, snatch it and go. How much will it make them better? My other question would be, what does Hunter Dickinson want? Because if the ambition is to make money, I'm pretty sure Michigan make money. If he's playing for an NBA big man coach. Like, that would be my real question about what do you want? Because sometimes you say you want it, and then I don't know. I don't think he's going to get from that standpoint. I don't think you're going to improve on that.
I actually think a new surrounding could help Hunter at this point.
A breath of fresh air.
I was
sometimes
very
it gets stale.
I was very in on the idea of maybe you remove Hunter and things look a little better for Michigan.
Yeah.
When I thought Kobe Buffkin's on next year's roster,
right.
when I thought there were some other guys I really trust, if they're starting from scratch with a roster of Doug McDaniel, Terrence Reed, and who the hell knows, that's a lot different. And I think that changed over the last month of the season where Hunter really did elevate his game in a way that was trying to drag that team to the tournament.
He did. I mean,
and it still wasn't enough.
Right. He was really good, but again, Jet was hurt and wasn't playing great. Obviously, we know he was a freshman. In a lot of ways, he was a freshman and showed it on the defensive end. But, this will be interesting to see. Like you said, does Michigan take another step down when they weren't even a tournament team this year? And then Hunter, where does he go, and how does that team look? Because, again, these traditional bigs, they're really good in the regular season, and they can help you maybe get a contract extension if you're a coach, but are you going to win in March?
And the other thing about those guys we talk about, too, you have to play through them on the offensive end. They have to put up monster numbers because none of those guys are perimeter threats. So you have to, because you're giving up too much on the other end.
Well, he's not even really a shot blocker, protect. Like that's
what I'm saying. They're not. He's not a charge taker. He's not a shot blocking big. So they're giving up, and they're in drop coverage. So they're giving up.
That's the problem.
Paint points and rotations on the defensive end. You have to be able to play through them on the offensive end, or it's just not worth having a big. And they're good enough to do it. But
can we play speculation game a little bit? Because obviously the rumor has been Georgetown, Ed Cooley trying to bring a DMV guy back to the DMV area. That would certainly be a good fit on paper. In my opinion, I don't know why every blue blood in the country wouldn't try and get
everybody would. If it's a bidding war, that's why I said he has to be specific in what he wants because Michigan has money and he has an NBA coach, a big man coach.
What about Kentucky? Oscar Tshiebwe, transfer center, national player of the year.
What's the difference in what Oscar Tshiebwe went through and what he went through? Why would he leave there?
He was the national player of the year. His first year at Kentucky as a transfer.
I don't think that matters to
Hunter?
To Hunter Dickinson.
Okay.
Going in the portal to go to Kentucky to be National Player of the Year.
See, I think the number one thing that matters to Hunter Dickinson is Hunter Dickinson. I think it just kind of is who the guy is. The higher profile.
Just tell him to stop doing the damn podcast.
Well, he likes to be the villain.
Get rid
That's
of the podcast.
That's a very true thing.
Number one thing, because again, those guys are doing him a disservice. They're doing him a disservice because they're just trying to make him say dumb shit.
Well, and he doesn't need any help to do that. We know that.
Yeah, but you know what, Hunter? I disagree. I think if again Hunter did a podcast with somebody else who was actually professional to some degree, that and knew college basketball as well, that they could help him. They could help him in the perception of Hunter. I just don't think he's helped himself that way.
No. I think if I had to make a prediction, I don't think he ends up at Georgetown. I think he ends up at some blue blood, whether that's Kentucky, whether that's Duke. Like, can you imagine Hunter Dickinson playing the villain role as Duke's center?
Oh, boy. Oh, my God.
It'd be awesome, right?
Yeah, again, if you're Duke, do you want him because you got to play a certain way?
That's the thing I think.
And John Shire, I don't think really wants to play that way. You know, he's young. He knows the way that they need to play right now.
Yep.
Right? He knows what wins.
But what are,
like an older dude, like a Mike Woodson. To me, those are the guys that are going to want Hunter Dickinson. Some of those older dudes that are used to playing a certain, like even Bill Self right now. Would he take Hunter Dickinson? Bill Self,
that'd be a good fit.
All these dudes would take him. John Shire brought in.
I started thinking
Ryan
but
everybody would take him.
He was a role guy.
Everybody would take him.
Ryan Young was
played a lot of minutes for
everybody
early, especially early. Yes, but you brought him in knowing he was a role guy. You weren't building around Ryan Young.
Sure.
If you have Hunter, you have to build around him.
I mean, Hunter can be a second, third option offensively.
Totally.
Fine.
Kansas actually, if Bill Self wants to get back, and he does need a traditional big, I just think, again, the hardest part for me is on the defensive end, not having a guy that can at least alter shots.
Yeah. It's tough. Can I give you the most fun potential outcome from my side? Gonzaga. Hunter shit on the West Coast Conference for years.
He shit on
guys.
everybody.
Well, but
Today's episode of the Field of 68 After Dark is presented by our partners over at Underdog Fantasy, the easiest place to play college basketball pick'em, where you can win real cash prizes simply by picking player stats in this weekend's Final Four games. And pick'em, all you do is pick whether a player will go higher or lower on Underdog's projected totals, whether it's points or rebounds or assists or all of them combined. If you're like me and you think Adama Sanogo is going to go nuts this weekend, pick higher on his points projection, pick higher on his rebounds projection, maybe throw in a lower on Matt Bradley's scoring totals, a higher on Isaiah Wong, whatever it is that you like. Put them all together, and if you hit them all, then you can win as much as 20 times your money on a single game. Underdog's slick mobile app is easy enough that dummies like Jeff Goodman have even figured out how to use it. So go to UnderdogFantasy.com or download the app and use the code FIELD, that's FIELD, to get a 100% deposit match up to $100.